Hey everybody, and welcome to tonight's class. Hopefully you're having a good evening. We're having a bit of a thunderstorm roll in here, so I'm hoping that the thunder and lightning doesn't interfere with tonight's class at all. So I'm jumping in a little bit early. It's only 11 minutes after 7, and hoping that our little lightning and thunderstorm doesn't kill tonight's class or anything like that, because tonight's a pretty basic class, but I want to talk to you about looking at things that could seem to be complicated and figuring out ways to simplify them. So basically a simple approach to designs and things. Now, if any of you are digital woodcarver owners and you're part of the digital woodcarver owners group, I did a live on this last night and walked through the process, and I thought it was a good enough lesson that to share it with everybody on tonight's class. And I want to take it one step further and want to be able to create some designs from other things which we'll talk about in a moment. While we're waiting for people to pop in and everything, once again, I want to thank you for joining me this evening, and all. I appreciate it. I am mentally drained today. Today was a big, heavy customer day, and let me get my head into the gear and we'll get going. Let's go ahead and get started by at least getting over to the Vectric software. And I believe I'm on camera 3 there, and let's get me down in the bottom left corner down here. And so what you see on the screen right now is this is a rough tracing of an image. Let me give you a little bit of backstory. The other day, in our forum, our digital woodcarver owners group, where our digital woodcarver owners ask questions and share information, they had a project that someone sent them an example photo of and said, I would love something like this, similar to this and stuff. And that photo looked like this. This was the photo that was in the group, and it was the customer or person found it online and said, oh, that's cute, I want that with my initials, or that kind of design with my initials and things. And they sent that to this customer, and this customer's basically posed the question, has anybody created a design like this, or does anybody have a file like this that they would be willing to share? And I didn't see any responses right away. So last night I did a little bit of a live class showing a very simple and easy way that this design could be, recreated with the customer's initials and things like that. I want to kind of take you through the same process as well. If we were to look at this image and everything, we can notice a distinctive pattern that is here. If I took a box and I drew a rectangle around this area here, let's turn that off, and you may be able to see that red box over this image. Let's go in to the object properties, and let's turn the fading down a little bit so you can see the red box there. But if you look at this clearly, you can see that this pattern here within this red box is basically repeated all the way around. So it's kind of duplicated all the way around. And therefore, if someone were wanting to recreate something like this, they don't have to try to recreate the whole design. They only need to recreate a segment of this and then basically mirror it around to create the full piece. And if we look closer, there are these segments here that my mouse is tracing out that are connected to the letters on both sides, these here. Well, if we look closely at that section that we're going to recreate, that is this portion here. Okay, so that is Let's go back into that object properties, and there we go. That's this portion here. That's all that is, and it's just mirrored and stuff. So what I did when I was teaching the class last night is I simply just did a simple image trace, a bitmap trace of this image. So here's the tracing of that. And if I were to come in here and create a rectangle here to, let's say, here, and if I were to take this rectangle and get it positioned right, let me get it centered right on that piece there, and over here, let me get it sized up there, and one more time let me pull this over to there, basically isolating that one corner that we would need and everything. I can use a tool such as the trim tool in the software. I can take this design and I can deselect the rectangle there and group that design together, and I can take my trim tool here and I can clear outside of my boundary, and my rectangle is going to be my boundary. So if I select my rectangle last, that becomes my boundary, having the object selected first, and I can go ahead and clear that out, getting rid of everything except for that top element, that top corner and everything. And we can then, from there, we can go in and remove the parts that don't belong. And here, I've got another part of the letter that I need to get rid of. So we could go into node editing, and I'll go into node editing and I'll cut the vector here, cut it back here, hit the delete key on my keyboard to get rid of that, and then I'll rejoin this with a smooth curve. And there's going to be some vector cleanup. You know, we've got to do some node editing and do some cleanup. So let me come in here and select these nodes here and hit D on my keyboard to delete them. Get rid of that. Let's do the same thing over here. Hit D on the keyboard to get rid of those. Turn this into either an arc that, you know, I could pull down to round that back off, you know, and things, or whatever I need to do. Over here, we have the same kind of situation going on here and here. Now this little thing going on here, that's actually a little leaf. If we went back over to the original image and looked at it, it's a little leaf coming off that vine, little 3-petal leaf or what have you. So we got to kind of recreate that. And I can go into node editing. I can go ahead and cut the vector here, and I'll pull this down just a little bit so we can see that separation. I will come over here and cut the vector, let's say right here, and cut the vector here. And I'm also going to cut the vector way over here. Let's go right there. And then I'm going to delete this lower portion. I'm going to delete this lower portion. And then I'm going to take this and I'll use my arc tool for right now just to kind of get me somewhere, you know, going to kind of create that, you know, that round shape there. I can then join these parts together, back together with the join tool as one vector. But now I need to work on the leaf. So on the leaf, I'm going to take this little shape here and I'm going to go into node editing again. I'm hitting N this time on my keyboard. And I'm going to cut the vector on this side here. And over here on this side, I'm going to cut that vector. And I'm going to delete that lower part. Now over here, this little hook coming out, I want to clean that up as well. I'm going to cut the vector here. And delete that part out. And over here, I want to take this and pull it out a little bit and get it turning facing the other direction. That way I can use my extend tool And oops, I can use my extend tool, and I can extend from here to here, from here to here, to kind of reconnect those. It looks funky right now. It looks like those long petals and all, but I can at least get them connected, and then I can join that as one closed vector. Now that that vector is closed, I can go into my fillet tool. We'll use a small fillet here, and we'll knock those down. And then I'm going to go into node editing, and we'll clean these up a little bit. So let's pull this one up and in. And I want to go with a Bezier curve, not an arc. So I want to kind of give this a little bit more of a point here and stuff. And again, I want to reduce the size just a little bit. Something about like that. Let's take this and move it over. There we go. Over here, same thing. I'm going to go into a Bezier curve and kind of give this a little bit of a point. And the one on the right's fine. So now I have that, you know, basically that 1/2, right? Let's get out of node editing. So I have this 1/2 as a closed vector that I want to go ahead, and I need another part out of it. So I'm going to hold down my control key. I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to hold down my control key, and my control key allows me to drag off a copy. So I'm going to drag a copy off and set that to the side. And we'll be using that in just a minute. But over here with this, now that I've recreated that one part, I can now simply go into my mirror tool, and I can use my left, right, top, and bottom options here to create a mirror copy. And I will flip this left, bottom, right to create those 2 halves. So let's go ahead and join. I'll group that. I'm hitting G on the keyboard to group that half, hitting G on my keyboard to group that half, and then I can bring that down some because my initials have got to go in the middle, and I've got to put those vines in there. Well, I need to create that part for that vine, so it's just as simple as going back into node editing, cutting the vector, let's say right here, and down here, deleting all of this over here. Let's get back into our selection tool, and then closing this vector up and cleaning it up. So let's close it with a smooth curve, go into node editing, and let's kind of clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to delete these nodes here, hit D on the keyboard after selecting them, and turn this into a Bezier curve. I'm going to pull this out here and here to get a nice flowing curve in there. I got a little bit of a jog right there, so I'm going to turn smoothing on so that smooths that out. And now I've got this shape. Get out of node editing, and all I need to do with this one is flip it horizontally and move it into place. So if I move this into place, let's move it up here and kind of bring it up some, right about there. I can then take my lower half and move it up into place. Okay, and from there I can take this object, knowing I'm centered on the board. If I'm not centered, let's go ahead and align to center the material. There we go, that's center. I can now take this and mirror it in my mirror tool, flipping it horizontally about the job center to bring it over to the other side here. Now on these 2 things here, if we look, coming into our little W and all that stuff in this image, it's just a simple vine here. So I want to get rid of this section down here on these. So why draw what you can copy? So I'm going to undo that copy, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it on this side. Let's go into node editing, and I'm going to cut the vector here and cut the vector here, and just hit delete on my keyboard to get rid of that. Now I can take this object and mirror it to the other side, and I'm ready to put my initials in here, and then just draw some nice little curves or arcs or whatever it would be to connect to those initials. Now the customer that though this isn't done yet, you see I've still got my dividing lines in here. Well, if I look very closely, there's still a kind of a gap in between those parts, right? So I need, in order to be able to trim these and truly connect it, I need to do a little bit of nudging. So I'm going to ungroup, these two, and I'm going to ungroup everything. And I'm going to take just this half, and I'll take this too as well. And I'm simply going to, grab that as well. Make sure there's no vectors that are not selected on this half. Make sure everything's selected over here. And I'm simply going to use my arrow key to bump it over once. Just one time. And from there, I can go ahead and use my scissors to clean up these lines. I'll come back and clean up this section right here. Let's trim that away. And then down at the bottom, do the same thing. Clean up those lines. Clean up those lines and zoom in and clean up these lines, right? So now I truly have one, kind of continuous piece for the top section, and group that together. The bottom section, I can group that together, and then I have these two sections here. Well, looking further at this design, the woman liked the font. And so, okay, now we've got to try to match a font or something, similar to that. Well, I always use Word Market, and I look at my fonts that I have in my computer first before I go out online and try to find those fonts. And so if I were to come into a web browser here, and let's pop into wordmark.it. I can type in my LDW. That was the initials that was in that photo. And it's going to show me all the fonts that are installed on my computer. Well, let's go back and look at those font real quick. And let's turn the properties. Let's turn the fading off here. And let's look at this, the LD. So this L's got this nice little hook and swirl. The D has this nice little top swirl on it. And the W has kind of almost like this half heart hook with a loop in the middle, right? So I want to find something, decorative like that or similar, or try my best to match it up or what have you. So if I go back to Word Market, I can start looking through my fonts to see if I have something that would be kind of comparable. Now, Abriella is close, but it's not exact. The Blackwater, no, it doesn't have that loop in the W, that was kind of decorative. And I can start kind of looking. Now, I happen to own that same font, and that font happens to be called Harrington. And it's over here on the far left. And so if we look at Harrington over here in the far left, it matches those letters exactly. Now, if I couldn't find a match in here that would be close or something that I think would be pretty cool, but I've got to use the initials of what the customer is. I'm not using the LDW, but I'm using the LDW here to match or get close to a match. Even marketing script doesn't look too shabby kind of thing. I'm going to see what I have. And if I don't have it, then I'm going to go to places like dafont.com, DAFONT.com. And I'm going to come in and, try to match that up. Now, I'm going to answer a question that Michael asked here. Is there an issue with copyright infringement on this design? There may very well be. You want to check your, your statutes and things like that. But I am using this in this class as a fair use, on this design. So that doesn't infringe the copyright. And I am also going to do an artist rendering, which is this tracing. And so it's not the exact design. And I'm showing an example here, but I'm going to actually show you how to create it from scratch using vectors that you can buy online. So Michael, it very well may be, but credit to Authentic Monograms, And I'm using this in a training class under the fair use policy, so that's not a copyright infringement. And but yeah, you know, you may want to change up the design a little bit, you know, so you're not making the exact design. You may tell the customer, hey, that's a great design. If you like it, go buy it from Authentic Monograms. I don't want to carve it for you. Or you can put your own creative twist on it. Right now, I'm just kind of showing you how to approach a design to get the basic concept. And then we're going to go in and create one from scratch. So hopefully that answers your question, Michael. All right, so as we continue on, we found a font that matches. If not, we can go to dafont.com and we can download free fonts that you can use for both personal and commercial use in your designs, whether you're selling your projects or not. I already own the font, so I can come over here and type in my, you know, LDW as an example so you can see the match of that font. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And if we look at the letters, you know, they're a match. It is the exact font there. So no copyright on the font. No worries there, Michael. And so we can go from here and we can start to lay out the design. Now, the initials that the customer was using was MWG. I'm sorry. Yeah, MWG. So we would actually change those to MWG, and we would kind of, you know, get this to connect and everything. Now, if you are, you know, concerned about an exact duplicate, a trace here is an artist rendering. Artist rendering does not fall under the copyright policy, but I am not a lawyer, right? So check with your states and all that good stuff and all that happy jazz. Now, that photo is copyrighted. The photo is copyrighted. That photo is copyrighted. I can't sell that photo to anyone, but I can create an artist rendering off of it. All right, so we've got a design. So a quick and simple way to knock out kind of a, you know, break it down into sections and, you know, copy those sections around. Now let's get creative and let's put our own spin on this, so it's our own design. Now, this particular flourish here is called a calligraphy flourish. These little elements and everything, it's considered a calligraphy flourish. And you can go online to vectorstock.com and you can buy this commercial license for these vectors here, and these are called calligraphy vectors. So I paid $14 and I purchased these vectors, so I own the rights to them to use them and manipulate them however I want. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a very decorative design similar to this using our own creativity, and we're going to do some trimming and welding and all kinds of things, and we're going to bring some parts together. Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and let's get everything cleaned up here. Let's move this over here. This is my example from last night's class. And let's start looking at our calligraphy vectors here. And let's see what we could do to kind of create, you know, something that would be just as nice, just as decorative, and would be kind of our own little take on that sample example that the customer sent us asking if we could do. So I do want to actually, let me re-import these vectors. Bear with me a second. Let's go into import and re-import those and move them over here. That way I don't have things welded together already. Now, of these vectors, I can use parts of these vectors. I can use elements of them. I can blend them together. I can create all kinds of cool little swirls and flourishes and what have you, right? And all that wonderful jazz. Let's go ahead and see if we can recreate something to have a similar kind of style but not be the same. Let's go into here, and I'm going to move this to a new layer, and I'm going to call this my muse layer, right? Okay, because I'm using it as inspiration. And I'm going to take that muse layer and I'm going to lock it to protect it, meaning I can't select it, I can't do anything, I can't mess it up, none of that stuff. The layer that I'm going to be drawing in, we're going to create layer 2 here, and it's going to be red, so everything I'm drawing is going to be in red. And I'm going to take these elements and everything, and let's start off with one of these. Let's take this and drag it over as well. Let's come in with one of these, and let's grab this guy, and this one right here. So let's bring these over into our drawing area. So we're going to start off with just these 4 vectors, and we're going to come in here, and we're going to rotate this around, and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to mirror it. Basically, I'm not going to create a mirror copy. I'm just going to flip it vertically to flip it upward like this. And let's bring that down a bit. Okay. Now I'm going to take this object here, and I'm also I'm gonna hit H on my keyboard to flip that horizontally, and I'm gonna grab that and come into here a bit. Let's go right about there. Wonderful. And let's put that in just a minute. We're not quite ready for that yet. Let's get this one good to go. So on this, I don't want all of these spiky feathers coming out of the top. I just want a nice smooth kind of curve coming into this little eyelet here. So I'm going to go into node editing, and I'm going to start right about here and cut the vector. And then all the way over here, I'm going to cut the vector, and I'm going to delete everything in the middle. And then I'm going to take a nice curve, and I could draw in my curve, or I could just use the option to join with a smooth curve, right? And that'll just kind of at least connect it. And then I can go into node editing mode, and I can start to finesse that curve a little bit the way that I may want it. So let's bring this down a bit. And all right, so I want to bring this down here. I want this right about like that. Let's actually bring it in just a little bit. And then I don't want to change this curve, so I'm going to turn off smoothing here so that I can deal with one side at a time. So when I'm changing one side, it's not changing the other. And I want to pull this down about here. And then on this node, I want to pull this down about there. And now I've got kind of this singular little piece here. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Now from here, I'm going to take, and I want to start adding some elements to that. So if we look at our muse, you know, this has got kind of this nice, almost cornucopia kind of curve. You know, then it, you know, it kind of has a really sharp S curve with another little hook down here and hook up here, and there's hooks and hooks everywhere and all, and everything. And all I want to do is I want to create kind of a nice vine look, and I want to create some elements. Let me get out of node editing mode. I want to create some nice elements that might flow off of this vine very nicely in things, you know, depending on what I want it to be and everything. So let's take this and size it down here. And I'm going to pull it off, and what I'd like is to right in here, right about there, I want to go ahead and use my scissors, and I want to actually trim these areas here and connect that, right? And then I'm going to delete everything else. All right, over here, I didn't quite want my leaf to be right into that, but that's okay. I want to make this actually a little bit taller. So I'm going to go into a node editing mode, and I should have made my other piece a little smaller, but that's okay. Let's go into node editing mode, and I want to make sure I grab the correct nodes. So I'm going to grab these, but I need to turn off this one, that one. I'm holding the shift key to turn these off, the ones that I don't want. Okay, make sure that all I have is that. And I do want to grab that node there. And I'm just going to use my up arrow keys. And all I'm doing is I'm hiking this up a little bit. Oops, I missed a node. Let me undo that because it's kind of stretching my little O there a little bit. Oops, Control Y. All right, let's do that one more time. I missed my shot there. I needed this one selected and not that one. Turn these off again. Oh, you booger. Let's do that one more time. Try not to click off the board, because then that really kind of defeats the purpose. Oh, let's be selective here, lady. Okay. So let's, once again, I want to turn this off because I don't want this part moving. Okay, make sure I got all the nodes that I want to move selected. I need one more down here. Hold that shift key down and select that. All right, I believe I got it this time. Yep. So I'm just going to use the up arrow key on my keyboard, and I'm just going to bring this up. Looks funky right now. Don't worry. We're going to clean that up in a minute. Bring that over to about like that. And then I'm going to come back on my back side here and round this off and kind of give it a nice curve there. And on the inside, we're going to fix this one as well. Let's pull this. Get a nice curve going there. I actually kind of want it kind of skinny. All right, so I believe I am content with that. Oh, let me get rid of this little hick right here. I'm going to hit smoothing and just knock that right out, smooth that up. All right, now I've got this funky little shape here that got moved. It got kind of bent, twisted, and moved around and everything. I must have had another node selected and all. So I'm going to grab this and pull this back down. I'm going to grab this over and pull this feather over here. Kind of fix that a little bit because I screwed it up a little bit. Okay. All right. So now I've got, one element. And again, remember, I don't have to redraw this whole design. All I need is to create one cool corner that I can mirror around a couple of times. All right, so we've got this going on here. Let's add another element to it. We're going to take this guy. Let's get out of node editing mode. Let's rotate him a little bit. Let's rotate him and make him much smaller. Let's shrink him down quite a bit. Rotate that around. Use the arrow keys on your keyboard to help you with moving around and all that happy jazz. Okay. Now, I don't want this leaf right here. I'll get rid of that in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and get this kind of pulled up where I want it. And then I'm going to go, before I do any trimming on this, I'm going to go into node editing on this one. And I'm simply going to cut the vector back here. And let's go right here and cut it. So I can delete that section. And then I can join that with a smooth curve. Fix the curve, of course, if we want to kind of fix that up. And then I can trim these two objects together to continue building on to this flourish. Now I have a lot of different shapes and designs and things that I can work with to create all kinds of different elements. I want to take this one right here and I'm going to add it to the end down here. We'll fix that end so it has a nice curve into that in just a second. But we have all kinds of neat little flourishes, and there's all kinds. Vectorstock.com is a great place to buy these types of vectors and everything. You know, they're not too expensive. You know, then you have them to manipulate kind of any way you want. All right. So let's see. I'm going to have that one curl into that. And then I need a kind of almost like a little, let's grab this guy here, and we'll work with those three. Let's see, this one, let's get rid of that one. Oh, not delete. Let's not delete it. Let's just move it back over here. Move back over there. Let's see. I need one more that makes sense for this. I am actually going to use this one, and that's going to be my big centerpiece in here, and I'll make it look where like it's meant to be, like it's where it's meant to connect there. In just a moment. Let's size it down more appropriately. We'll do something with that. Let's work on this butt end here for a minute. Now, I would like this to, I'm going to hit V on my keyboard. That's going to flip that vertically, because I would like this to have kind of like that little curvature coming back up into these final two leaves. But I don't necessarily need it this long. It really kind of depends on the design and what I want to use it for. But I'm going to kind of bring it up into here. Let's come here. And let's go into node editing on this piece before I do any trimming. And I'm going to cut the vector right here. And I'm going to cut the vector right here. That'll be good. Get rid of this upper piece. Oops, did it not cut for me? Hold on a second. There we go. Get rid of that upper piece and everything, because I want in my node editing, I want to actually drag this node up to here and get it to kind of a nice little curve there. And on this one, I'm just going to drag this node to there, just get that to overlap a little bit. And then I'm going to use my scissors to trim away this section here. And I need to make sure that I did connect, and I didn't, because I still have an overlap right here. If we zoomed in really tight, you can see those two lines. Let's trim away one of them. Oh, there's still a little bit more right there. And now I'm going to close that tool, and it should bring those ends together. It did not bring those ends together, so node editing to the rescue. Let's see here. I'm going to delete that span right there. Did I cut it? I meant to delete it. Let's do that one more time. Delete span. There we go. And now I should be connected together as one closed vector, but I'm still open, so it's still not closed somewhere. So the best way, when I have a vector that has everything this close to it and all together, the best way to find where it's open is go into node editing and look for the green node. 99.9% of the time it's at the green node where it's not connected, and that's exactly where it's not connected there. And I can come in here and bring those two together, and now I am closed up, right? So cool beans. All right, so with this I need a little bit of a swish, something that kind of gives it a little bit of flow, because everything is just kind of flat right now in everything in here. So I want to, let's take this vine and I want to actually, I really want to use this trumpet on that end. Let's see what's going to be the best way for me to do this. All right, I'm going to bring it up here. Let's do some node editing, and let's cut the vector. I'm going to cut the vector pretty decently back here. Well, no, that was a delete span. Let's do the cut. Cut the vector here and up here. Let's cut it there. And let's get rid of this stem. And then on this one, I'm going to cut the vector here and here. I'm going to keep this ball. I'm not going to delete that. I'm going to keep that ball there. I just need to move it out of the way. We'll find a place for it in a minute. But now I want my tulip here. Let's rotate it just a little bit. And a little bit more. Which way do I want it to rotate? Which way do I want it to rotate? All right, there, that looks good. All right, let's bring that down. I want it to come way out here. And I want it to curl all the way back to here, and I want a nice curve. So I'm going to have to do some cleanup, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this vector and this vector, and I'm going to join with a smooth curve. Notice how it joined on the wrong side, so I won't do that because it's going to continue to do that for me. So I'm just going to use my curve tool and click from here to here to here. I'll fix that in a minute. It looks grody right now. Spacebar to finish. From here to here to here, spacebar to finish. Let's go into node editing mode and let's clean this up. Well, first of all, let's join this together. Whoa, hold on there, Hoss. Let's join that together and that together as close it up. Close, join tool, one vector. There we go. Now I can go into node editing. And I'm going to basically get rid of this point altogether. I'm going to get rid of this point up here. And then I'm going to take and smooth this point and pull this out into a beautiful, nice arc. I want to actually kind of pull it up a little bit. Nice. I want a nice arc here coming around into that tulip. Now I need to clean up the bottom one, so let's delete this point, and this point. And let's take this and bring this out to here. And on these 2 points, I'd like a little bit more of a curve, so I'm going to actually select this vector and this vector, and I'm going to use my left arrow key, or node, not vector, sorry. I'm going to choose that and pull that out just a little bit more, right about here. And then I'm going to fix this outward so it's a little bit more of a flow into there. And then I'm going to smooth this one out and pull that up just a little bit. So I have this hook. Now, of course, going into that tulip area there with nothing in here in the middle makes it look a little bland and all that stuff. So I'm going to add another one. Here. Let's trim those two together. And I want to start kind of now filling in this area because it looks a little naked, you know, in this area. We don't want to overcomplicate it, but we do want to give it some kind of decoration. Something. All right, let's see what we have that will be cool for that. I'm going to go off into the left here because the right, I'm going to incorporate this on the right side somehow in just a minute. But on the left, I need just a little bit of something right here. My leaves are kind of going the wrong direction from the way this vine is kind of growing and stuff, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see here. What do I need there? I need... Let's get out of node editing. All right, let's trim away that. And it doesn't look so naked over there now. On this ball here, I'd actually like one of these feathers. Well, it's actually got one right there. So, let's mirror this. I'm going to hit V to V that. Let's rotate it. Size it. And drop it over here. Okay, so we'll bring it into there and let's do some trimming. We're going to trim away this. We're going to trim away this. And let's go into node editing. Pull that up and bring these anchors down just a little bit just to kind of soften that up a little. All right, just to create that little ball at the end there. Pretty cool. All right, I could go on and on and on, but right now I want to focus on this side right here. This is going to be my centerpiece because when all this gets said and done, we're taking one simple corner. We're going to size it down into our material. Let's get it sized down appropriately. Of course, your material, your job size would be however big it's going to be. And when it gets mirrored over and copied and stuff, we're going to have our center element here. So let me get this all the way over to this side. And I'm going to flip this, mirror this, create a mirror copy and flip it about job center horizontally to create that space in between those two. Okay. And let's go vertically about job center, horizontally again. Actually, let's not do the bottom half yet. Let's get the top half and then we'll just mirror it down. Now in here, I want to take this prize piece. Lord of mercy, grab hold of it. And I want to size it down appropriately. Let's move it up. Size it down just a little bit more in here. And I'm actually gonna, hold on a second. I'm actually going to, I think I'm gonna take this one, size that down, and I don't know if that would look right. No, that's not the place for that one. Let's see here. This one. Is it that one? Is that the one I want? Kind of this one. Sorry, guys. We're making up my mind here. Hit the number 9 key to rotate that 90 degrees. I want to come up here and let's size this down. And I want to bring that right here. And I'm gonna, since I know I'm centered, let's go ahead and use the alignment tool and align that one left to right, right there. Let's align this one left to right, make sure that's centered. And what I want to do here is I'm going to go into node editing, and I'm going to just delete, I'm going to add a, actually I'm just going to delete this span right here and this span over here. Okay, so I have an open-ended vector there. And up here, let's go ahead and trim away this and this and that, this, this, and this. And I want to bring this down a little bit in size. Here, I'm going to go into node editing, and I'm actually going to spread this out a little bit. As if it were coming from here around. Let me fix that. That looks ugly. I want it real thin, a little thin piece where it kind of widens out. Let's bring that up just a little bit. That looks believable. Trim this away. All right, now I want on this vector, I would love to have it where it looks like it's curling over the vine. And if I was doing a 3D model, that'd be cool and everything. I got to think about this for kind of V carving. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually go into node editing, and right on this line, I'm going to cut the vector here and here. And I'm going to take that cut vector. Oh, you son of a gun. Hold on a minute. Do that again. Zoom in. I want to cut the vector right there. There we go. And I want to take this follow that where it would kind of, let's see, if that was naturally kind of curving, it would about like that, and trim, trim, trim. Okay, so I've got that side done. Now over here, I could very well split this right now if I couldn't mirror everything over and say, you know, all that stuff. But what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to have this one, if you know, if you need everything symmetrical where one side's got to look the same as the other, then If that's what we're going to do, then I'm not going to try to mess with that. I'm just going to go into node editing. I'm going to cut the vector here. Come down to the center here and cut the vector there. I'm going to take this half and delete it. I'm going to select this half and mirror it. Why draw what you can copy? That's the whole thing about, you know, approach to design is why draw what you can copy. And just create a small portion of something and duplicate it around. Now, I want to tie this. I want like a little stem coming down into here and everything. I still want this little almost like diamond shape here, but I'm going to get rid of the tip of this. Right about here, cut the vector. Same thing on the other side, cut the vector there. Get rid of that. And I'm going to take this and this. Let's get into out of node editing mode. This and this. And I'm going to join with a smooth curve. Ooh, that was a big, funky, ugly curve. Let's fix that before we do the other side. That's not a smooth curve. We'll fix that curve in a minute, but then I'm going to join this side, this and this. Join with a smooth curve. I love how that joined over there. All right, while I'm at this point right now, let's go ahead and take all of this and make it one vector. Okay. So I've got... Oh, I got to do my little trim there. Hold on, I was wondering why that wasn't closing. That needs to be cut away there. There we go. All right, so now I should have all the way to here. And then this is my other half. And it'll be joined together once I trim that. Perfect. Now we're all one vector except for this right here. So now I can join that with a smooth curve. It'll connect those two ends. And Lord of mercy, go into node editing and fix that. And what I'd like is I'd like this to kind of tulip into a very thin kind of tulip here, and where it's blooming down into this big flower that's hanging down. So I want to smooth this up. I want a nice flowing curve here. So I'm actually going to delete this point. And I'm going to make this curve kind of flow much better into that. Delete this point. And have this curve kind of flow a little better into that. And, you know, you guys get the idea, right? Hopefully you're with me there. All right. Let's go ahead and size this. Get out of node editing mode. Let's size this down. In this direction. And actually, no, let's not do that. Let's not size it down. Let's just move it down. Right about here. Okay. And I could continue to add more elements to this. I'm going to be fine with that. What I want to do now is I want to mirror this. Again, flipping it about job horizontally or vertically, sorry, vertically about job center. And what I want to do is I'm going to separate these. I need to make my material a little bit bigger. Let's go to my material size. And let's change this to a 24 by 16 right now. Let's get everything centered back on the material. Let's size it up a little bit more. I like that. And let's bring this down. Bring this up. I got two vectors in there. And I'm missing them here. So I'm going to delete that because I must have moved and forgot those two. Let's grab this again and just flip it, mirror it downward. All right, let's bring this one up. Let's bring this one down. And I'm going to need a filler over here, some kind of cool little design over here and over here. I don't really need anything, but I'm going to want that. But let's put a name in here. So this could be initials. This could be a last name. This could be a first name. It could be whatever you want it to be. You know, whatever the customers ask for. They ask for like 3 initials. And that's all good and well. We could do 3 initials. So I'm going to use my initials, WDS. And everybody's like, wait a minute. He just said he's using his initials. And where the hell do you get WDS from Laney? Let's go capital letters. WDS. All right. That is my initials, believe it or not. I need some more height because once I get this laid out how I want, I can size everything down. So I need some more height. Let's go 24 by 24 for right now. Give me some height, some space in there. All right, on my WDS here, I'm going to go with bold. I like a little extra meat on those. And let's go ahead and size that up. And I'm going to use my alignment tool to get it perfectly centered on my board. So that's center of my board right there. Okay, so I'm going to then take this and move it up. I want my little tulip hanging down right above WDS. Let's delete this. Always draw what you can copy because I want to mirror this perfectly on the other side. Right there. And now I've got, you know, I need to create a little element on this side and this side, kind of close off that frame. And I have some perfect options here. I've got like a nice little leaf that's nice and long and narrow that I could have just kind of dangle down into that. I have this option here. It has a little bit of a swirl to it. I could kind of throw in there with a little vine to it, whatever we want to do. We don't have to leaves in or leaves out. That's the question of the day. And let's finish that off with a nice little floret right there. What's going to be a good one? We could go with a little flower like that, or we could go with something like this. Let's go with this guy. He looks like he was meant to be there. All right, let's rotate him sideways. Again, I'm going to move him into place. I'm going to align these two things. Let me align this one first. Align up and down on the center, so that one's centered great. Align this one up and down. That's centered now. So that way I can come in here and move, 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 move. Make sure I'm good there and trim. Create that little, you know, little flourish there. Oh, that probably would have looked cool with one on each side, maybe. Like one facing this way as well. Oh. Let's see. I don't know. You guys will have to tell me flower in or flower out. Yeah, we'll go flower out. All right, I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and mirror that over to the other side. Perfect. Just creating a little decorative border here. It's not as tight and condensed as this and everything, but you're getting the idea, hopefully. All right, let's size this up a little bit more so it's more appropriate for this size project. Right here. And what I'm going to do is I actually need something to hold my letters in place, right? So I need something to kind of, I'm going to create a little vine that kind of connects over to the S right here, so it kind of swoops up into that S. Same thing on the W. I'm going to create a nice little vine to hook in over here. And this vine down here is probably going to have a petal that comes up and hooks into the W right there to connect together. Let's go ahead and make these connections. So first things first, let's ungroup this. Ungroup this. Because my middle initial is not that important, I actually want to ungroup this. Hold on a second. I want to ungroup. No, not ungroup. I want to convert to curves. And I want my W and my S a little bit taller. Get that little loop in that W there. I want my W and my S. I'm going to hold the shift key down so they're sized evenly. I want them a little bit taller. Not too much. Do I want them taller? Control Z, Control Y, Control Z, Control Y. Let's see here. No, I don't want them taller. I'll leave them just like that. Let's go ahead and do some trimming. So I'm going to connect my, I don't know what just happened there. I'm going to connect my D at the top here and at the bottom. I don't know why that little trim is making my computer go crazy. All right, hold on a second. Get back to that D. Ooh, we almost got dizzy there. All right, so I've got something kind of holding that D in. And let's go ahead. I'm going to use my arc tool. And there is a story to my name, Harry. There is a story to my name. Yep. And it has to do with me being a smart kid. That's all I'll say. A smart kid. I was a smart kid. Here, I'll tell you. My middle initial is for Delaney. We just took the duh off it because I'm not dumb. So we just made it Laney instead of Delaney. I don't know. That was a terrible bad. That was a dumb dad joke. Anyway, yeah, Delaney. All right, Laney. And all right, let's arc tool. That's what I'm looking for. I want a nice curve in here, so I'm gonna go right about here. Here, and a nice curve there, and right about here to here, a nice little curve there. And let's trim that away. So I got to do I got to figure out something for a connection here at the top. We'll get that in just a minute. On the W, I'm going to use my arc tool again. And I want want a nice curve here. And nice curve there. Okay. So kind of got that. So now I need to, my W, none of the W and S are still floating in midair, right? They're not, there's no real connection there. Yeah, Stan had it right, Delaney. We took the duh off it. Yeah. I don't like that hump in that S right there, and that's part of the font. I can't really, you know, fault that, but I don't like it. I'm gonna smooth that out. There we go. That's more better. All right, so D, I'm good on D. It's gonna hold in. All of this is connected when it gets cut out. It's not connected very heavily. It's by these thin parts right here. So I may want to kind of branch another little connection into this tulip somewhere. But let's I want to get my
I don't know that one.
Alexa, I wasn't saying your name. Stop. We're going to go in here and I'm actually going to pull this out. It looks weird right now, but we're going to make it look good in a minute. And so let's see here. Let's make this look good. Let's take this and kind of pull it out a little bit. And let's take this and pull it over to here. Move this over. And let's turn off smoothing so I can bring this around. Let me trim that and see what that looks like. All right, trim tool. Bear with me, my trim tool's acting up, guys. Hold on a minute. Profile cut. Kool-Aid, how are you going to cut it out as a profile cut? Going to cut it all the way out. Profile cut. Now, if I was doing this in a board like this size and I was just going to do some raised letters, it'd be a pocket cut or a V carve with a flat depth, so it had raised, that design would be raised up, and then I'd have a nice border around it. If I was going to have this as a hanging kind of wall monogram and everything, I'd want a little bit more decoration up in here. It looks a little barren, you know, here on this vine. In this area, I want to fill that in a little bit more, but we're trying to, you know, take a simple approach to a design by creating one element, mirroring it around to create our others, and then taking simple vectors that we can get online. Again, this was vectorstock.com. It cost me about 14 bucks. But we have all these vectors that we can pull in. And, you know, I could pull in a new copy, so I have all refreshed copy here. And I could, you know, add elements, trim off elements, clean up things, whatever you want to do. All that fun stuff. But we'll see what this looks like as a raised design as well. Let me get my W here looking right. Node editing. Okay, nice little vine coming down into that W. And let's have it do the same thing here. Let's go and pull this up. Whoa, straight up into there. And let's pull this one out a little bit. Let's take this and flare this out some here. Flare that in some. Let's do a little trimming for a minute. Why is my trim tool giving me a hard time today? Hold on a second. After this, I'm going to hit save on my computer just in case it's telling me something. Okay. Let's go ahead and real quickly hit save because I've already given it a name, so we'll just hit save to update that. Let's go back into node editing and let's get this to flow a little bit better. Let's bring this out. A nice little curve into there. And let's take just a nice little curve into there. Okay. Now once I connect these two ends somehow, I'm going to figure out a way to kind of connect into here where it looks good. We'll do that in a minute. Then I'll be good there. My S, I want to use these vines here to grow into that. That's why I need some more leaves over here, because my vines are going to be connecting into my letters at the top and the bottom here, you know, to hold them into place. And so if my vines are growing in there, I need some more leafage. I need some more leafage on this. So I might put a couple more leaves right there in just a minute. And once I'm just going to put the leaves on one, wherever I put them, I'm going to mirror them around to the other four, the other three. Let's get this one. Let's get this one cranking. I like the steps, you know, kind of the progression that it's taking in this direction and stuff. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to come over and I don't know why I just rolled out like that. I'm going to come over here and I am going to select all of this. I'm using my up arrow key and I'm going to look at that. It's like a beanstalk from Jack's Little Magic Beans, how it grows like that. We're going to grow that up. Let's get that up in here. Right there. I want a good bite on that S. And then I'm going to go into node editing. Oh, I'm already in node editing. I'm an idiot. I'm already in node editing. I'm going to go into here and insert a point and another point and another point. And I'm going to grab the middle point that I created first, and I'm going to pull this up and oops. And let's do that again. We'll even throw one on. We gotta finish our curve. It's not that clean yet. We'll clean that up, make that look a little sexier than what it is. Let's do that again. Let's add a point right about here. Insert a point. Insert a point. Insert a point. Grab the middle point. Pull that out. I'm going to make it shorter this time. This one's going to be a little shorter and a little chubbier. So we're going to go raw. Okay. Let's fix this side over here. Let's give it a little bit of a more of a thinner kind of base. And so it doesn't look so funky here. Let's look over here real quick. Let's see, what would be coming off that? Maybe a little petal, like a little flower. Maybe something like this. Size it down. Size it down. And then I'm going to use my curve tool or my arc tool, and I'm going to go from here down to here. Nice little curve there. From here down to here, a nice little curve there. And let's trim that up. I don't know why my trim tool's acting up, guys. Hold on a minute. I don't know why it's doing that. Alright, so that's going to come right into there. So this line will go away. This will go away. And, you know, we'll have that little feather there. And then I can trim those two lines. We're sitting back letting that trimmed tool catch up to me. While we do that, I'm going to have a sip of soda. All right. So one more cut there. That'll connect that together. So we got a nice little kind of vine growing up. It's a little straight. Oh, I'm happy with it. We'll be fine with it. I was thinking I might want a little bit more of a curve out here with those leaves and everything. That's fine. All right, let's come up here. Now, I do want this one to curve. I want it to curve into the top of this S here. I want a nice little curve into this top of this S. So I will do this one differently. And this is the last connection I got to make besides kind of figuring out what I want to do with the sides here and stuff. I might not need to do anything with the sides because this is holding that up. That's holding that up. It could just be all free floating. But I'll probably do a little connection right here just for a little extra stability. If I was doing this as a cutout, right? We want to have a little bit extra stability. All right, so on my top of my S, I'm going to go into node editing mode and I'm going to select I'm going to select these nodes right here, and I'm just going to use my down arrow key, and I'm going to pull this over. It looks weird now. Don't you worry. And let's pull this out. I'm going to delete, whoops. I'm going to delete these points right here. Hit D on the keyboard. So when you select multiple points like this, you can hit D on the keyboard to delete them. Okay. You can hit D on the keyboard to delete those. The reason why I want to delete them is I kind of want this vine to be a vine that comes in here, and then I'll add some extra leaves or elements to it in a minute. But I really want this to kind of swing out. Same thing over here. Let's delete. Hit D on the keyboard to get rid of those, and that one too. And let's pull this in. It looks weird right now, but it won't in a minute. Oops. Don't do that. I need this node and hold the shift key down, this node, bring that down into here. And then these nodes I'm going to pull up. All right, I think I've kind of over dramatized that curve, but that's good. Let's go into the scissors and let's trim and clean this up, and then I'll add something nice to that. Yeah, we definitely have to add something nice to that one. All right, I got silent there for a minute waiting for that to trim up. All right, let's go ahead and let's get something on here. Another little nice little something coming out of there. Let's see. We'll go with this and with this one. All right, let's see what how we're gonna finish this up. All right, let's rotate this. I want to hit my V on the keyboard to flip that vertically. There we go. And size this down really small. Rotate it. Rotate it. Okay, and actually let me undo that because I'm actually gonna hold down my control key and drag a copy over here for a minute, then I'll trim that. And on this one, no, I was going to use it twice, but I decided against that. This one I'll use this little bell here. All right, with this, I'm literally just going to take my arc tool, click here, and somewhere up in here, and then over here, here. Probably should have got a little bit further away from it. But let's see. Not too bad. It's not perfect, but not too bad. Trying to keep this class to whoa. All right, got a little bit of an overlap right there. Let's go ahead and trim that up. And there we go. All right, so I got a whole bunch of stuff going on over here. I'm lacking over here, but you know, I'm not gonna try to overkill it and stuff, you know, as far as flowers and stuff here and things. You know, I don't necessarily need to balance it out, but I do want to add something right here that's driving me a little crazy right here, and I want it the same on all four sides. I want a nice little filler right there, and I really want something that kind of curls up again. So I've used that part already. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and delete those out of here and re-import that set of vectors. Because I want this guy right here. And let's see if my vine is kind of flowing. Which way do I want him? Let's size him down. Let me see. H. Let's see. Okay, that'll be good for the first part of this. That's not all of it, guys. That's not all. It's just a part of it. And then I want... where did he go? This one, right here. Rotate that around. Size it down. Shoo. See, I got to think about gravity and the way this thing would be facing if it was a flower hanging down. All right, take my arc tool, and this is the last little element. Let's come up here and create a little curve there. Create a little arc here. And let's trim. Okay. Now, I'm not going to trim him into, I'm not going to trim that into here yet, because what I want to do is I want to take that and I want to mirror it. I want to flip it about job center, flip it horizontally, vertically, horizontally. So I have it in the, the same places over here. And now I can come in and connect those in if my trim tool wouldn't lock up. And then we're going to call it good. So let me see if I can get my trim tool to quit acting up on me. There we go. Zoom in nice and tight. Let's get this one and that one. Work with me. Okay, and down here. And last but not least, over here. Now this one will stay black until I close my tool, and then, it's turns everything black because it was moved off of that layer. So notice when it connected and closed that off and everything, it connected to, everything was on that layer. All right, let's go ahead and create a rectangle boundary around here, and I'm going to create an offset of that rectangle boundary. Inward, I'm going to go 0.75 inches inward. Actually, let's go 1 inch. 1 inch inward. And let's undo that. Let's go sharp corners, delete the original, select new. There we go. And let's go into our rectangle tool. And let's go with a internal radius. All right, if it were me carving this out, I would carve it out just like this, as a V-carve toolpath with a flat depth of 1/8 of an inch. You could even go 1/4, but I'm going to go 1/8. 60-degree V-bit, along with a end mill. I'll use a 1/4 inch end mill, as well as a 1/8 inch end mill to get into those tighter spots. And I would calculate this as kind of a raised frame design. We have some overlapping lines. Hold on, let's see here. Let's go to our vector validator and see what I screwed up. Let's see here. Let my vector validator show me where I've got something joined together that shouldn't be. Okay. Oh, okay. That's not my script. That's just loops in the design. Those little loop there. Don't necessarily trim those away. I'm just going to. Oh Lord, hold on a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that little loop there. On those, we'll call it, we'll just let the software ignore that. So I'm going to just click continue anyway. All right, 2 open vectors. I do need to find those. Hold on a second. Selection, right click on your screen, selection, select all open vectors. Let's move this. Okay. selection, select all open vectors, zoom into the selected, and it is somewhere in here. That is a closed vector. That is a closed vector. That's closed. That's closed. So I got two little, aha, right. Can you see that? That little speck right there was my open vector. Lord have mercy. Delete that little speck out of there. Select all open vectors, zoom into the selected item, and there's the other one. Okay, so they were just trash. They weren't anything that had to do with the design. They were just trash. Calculate. Continue anyway. All right, so when, as far as you know, a lot of you may be thinking, okay, I thought the title of this was a simple approach to design, and it is. You know, we were building an element and everything. What I was, let me break it down for you. Let's preview the visible toolpath. But basically, using the scenario, we have a customer send us something. Say, gosh, I really love this. Can you do this? Okay. Well, we can take that example and look at it. What shape does it remind you of? Or is there any repeating elements to that shape? Is there anything that really stands out that catches your eye? And in this case, in that first scenario, it was the same pattern repeated all the way around. And then part of that pattern, you know, in the middle and things like that. Fonts, you know, try to compare fonts and stuff. You know, all we had to do was recreate that one corner to duplicate it around. But let's go at it a different approach. Instead of trying to recreate and invent the wheel and everything, what if we took some elements that we had, such as these vectors? You know, we spend $14 on them, turn that cost over to the customer. You know, they got to pay for them, whatever. Put it in your design price and all that stuff. What elements can we take to create something that, you know, might look the same, may look good, may look better? You know, I could spend a lot of time on this and really fill it in and make it flourishy and all that stuff, you know, hours and hours and hours, but I don't want to. You know, this is going to be good enough because you know, here as a raised design, not a bad looking design there. I want to step this up one notch, and with these vectors selected here, I want to go into my texturing toolpath. I'm going to start at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to use an 1/8 inch ball nose here. And let's go about 15 degrees. And I want to stay away from everything by 1/8 of an inch. Let's calculate that. Hopefully my texture doesn't get in my letters. If I do, then I need to reselect some different vectors, but we'll see here in just a minute. It shouldn't. It should go around my letters. We'll find out in a momento. But while that's calculating and everything, coming back, you know, yeah, it took, with explaining and kind of drawing and talking to you at the same time, we started at 7:15, started that remake of that design probably around 7:30, 7:40, 7:45, somewhere around there. And also, we've been at it about an hour as far as, you know, hour and 15 minutes on this kind of design, just kind of laying it out and stuff. But, you know, real simple ways to kind of create things. And, you know, the first go around, let this, you know, created exactly what she sent us as an example, right? We would want to add our own little twist, our own little spin to it, because yeah, you know, you do want to. Just so you know, I'm not a lawyer. You read your own copyright laws and all, but an artist rendering is it doesn't fall in the Copyright Act and everything. Me tracing this and redesigning it and stuff, it's an artist rendering. But you know, there could be loopholes to that. There could be, you know, more stringent rules. I'm not a lawyer. Check it out in your areas, read on your states and all that stuff. But me teaching this is under the Fair Use Act and everything. But no matter what, we still want to put our own little spin on it. Now, this person wanted this thing as a wall hanger, right? Cut out as like, you know, cut all the way through and cut out and stuff. And absolutely, we could very much do that as a wall hanger in things. Let's add a little texture to this. We could do that as a wall hanger and cut it out. I just need to connect my two ends. You know, have those leaves going into those vines and everything, so the top and the bottom connect and everything to cut it out. But as a piece of wall art, you know, that in itself is not too bad, right? You know, that in itself is not too bad as a piece of, you know, wall art. And you could say, hey, you know, present it to them. Say, hey, is this, you know, something that you want to do? Or if they're like, no, I want to cut all the way through and I want to cut it out and everything, then look at your design. So if we came back and look at our design here, think about, you know, where our bit's going to be cutting and what size bit we would need to cut this out. Think of our structure and our strength areas. So we're connected here. Not too bad, you know, that holds that together. You know, we're connected down here, but we do need something holding this together. Otherwise, it's just these kind of two things, three things, 1, 2, 3 in the middle, connecting that bottom. And hell, that may be enough, but you may not want this flopping here. So we would take this leaf and just literally continue that curve up into here, right? So we would go into node editing. We could simply go into node editing and we could just pull that up into there, right? Fix our curve a little bit. And then we could, you know, just trim to connect, right? If you want a little bit more structure, you want a little bit more strength or whatever, that's up to you. That's fine. But we can... Why is my trim tool jumping today? Let that connect. And, you know, we can do that all the way around at the top, the bottom on this side, and then the same thing, then the same thing top and bottom on this side. We could connect it all the way around, right? Just by going into node editing and pulling this down. Fix the curve a little bit on that. Okay. Take over here, node editing, pull this up. Fix the curve a little bit. And trim. Right? So we can trim. It's going to take a second to trim on this. Okay. Let's go over here and trim again. The second one. I don't know why it's jumping. I'm going to zoom in and see if that helps. Be less jumpy. Nope. I wonder why it's doing that tonight. All right. 2 more clips. 3 more clips. So this one, we'll trim that. And then we'll do a profile cut and we'll cut this out as a, just as a kind of like a little door hanger or something. Cut this out. Okay. Now I need to, one more connection down here. Really quickly, go into node editing. Pull this point down into here. Fix the curve a little. And trim those two away. See if I can do this without it jumping on me. I think it's going to jump on me. That is so weird. One more trim. All right, now that we've got the sides connected, now we can do a profile toolpath, and we can cut it out and see what that looks like. So that'd be option 2, right? All right, so coming in here, let's go ahead and let's select all open vectors. No open vectors in the design. Wonderful. Let's select just this inner area. We're going to do a profile cut. And what I'd like to do on this one, let's go ahead and once again, by the way, this is just kind of a piece of wall art, right? Let's make it, oops. Let's make it cherry. Cherry, Cocoa Puffs. Little piece of cherry or something. Who knows? We could add some background shading to that, which is not going to do anything. All right, never mind. We won't add background shading. Yeah, it's fine. All right, so let's go option number 2, profile. But what I want to do on option number 2, I'm not going to cut it out of a 3/4 inch board. It's going to be most likely like a 1/4 inch thick material, like what she sent me, like a little door knocker kind of thing. Could be 1/2 inch material, what have you. But option number 2, take this and do a profile cut. We're going to cut 1/4 inch deep. We're going to use I'm going to only use one end mill for this. My 16th inch end mill, the smallest end mill possible to get into all those little nooks and crannies. I'm going to be cutting on the outside of the line. The software is smart enough to know that there are inside vectors, so it will handle those appropriately. And I'll use double side tape to stick that down so there's no tabs that I have to deal with in sand. And we will calculate that toolpath, right? We will preview that toolpath. Let's go with a maple for right now to kind of make it a little bit lighter so y'all can see it. Double click on this here. Double click on all this waste. Oops. Let's go here, here, and here, and here. Oops. Hold on. Get my mouse there. Basically, I'm just double clicking on the waste area, the areas that are going to fall out. Right? Let's see, another little scrap piece right there. Right there. Down here. Okay. That will be good enough for preview purposes. Let's get this here. And so we have this, oops, let's get the W out of there. And let's, hold on, a couple more places. All right. And so, all in all, not even a bad little wall hanging design either. You know, either way, right? We have options. We've created options for ourselves. So, not a bad little, wall hanger and all that happy jazz. Either way you wanted to do it, think about, and we'll cover the time in just a minute. But think about, um, those approaches. When somebody sends you something, don't look at it as a whole image. Well, first of all, you're going to look at it as a whole image, right, when you first see it. But then literally kind of sit back, close your eyes, and focus straight ahead, and then open them slowly and see what shape pops out at you. Or see if something, a pattern, starts to emerge or repeat itself. If so, then focus on that. Where is that pattern? Is that pattern repeating? Is it repeating in a certain way? If I took that element of that pattern and I did it, copied it around and stuff, would that complete that project? And then isolate that part of that design, and that's what you're creating, right? Work on that one corner, that one section, whatever it may be when something like that comes up, and it's not so overwhelming for you. If you look at things as shapes, like when I'm looking at a fireman's logo, the Maltese cross, I see a rectangle, right? And I see a rectangle, and then I see shapes come there. And if you want to learn how to draw a Maltese cross from a rectangle or rectangles and using your guidelines, there's a video in the Spindle TV channel on how to draw a Maltese cross, a look at design and approach similar to kind of like this, how you approach a design. But things like this. So either way is the two options. It's not, either way is not bad. We've created something pretty decent here and everything. In this case, Ronnie, this is 1/4" material because it's kind of like a little wall hanger, like a little door knocker and all. Hell, I could put a little loop up here at the top, a nice little loop up here so it hangs on the hook on the door or whatever. Or I could put a little hook on the back of it, whatever the case may be. That's what that is. That's a little door hanger. The other one was an actual, just kind of a piece of wall art, right? Like a sign, a nice little sign. However you want to do it. Let's talk about times and everything. This profile cut here, this simple little profile cut with a 1/16 inch end mill, because I wanted to be able to get into all those little nooks and crannies. We are looking at about a 2-hour 25-minute cut. So whoever said under 3 hours, Harvey on that one. So 2 hours 25 minutes for that 1/16 of an inch bit to go in there and cut that 1/4" material. At that. Now that's running at my speeds and feeds. I'm running that bit at 45 inches a minute for the feed rate, 15 for the plunge. You can go faster, right? Do whatever you want, but it's my 1/16 inch end mill. I'm very careful with that $60 little 1/16 inch end mill, so I'm running at about 45 inches a minute, spinning at about 22,500 RPMs, and I'm plunging about 15 inches a minute on that. So that would be that. Resetting this and looking at this first option. This option uses 3 tools, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, and a 60-degree V-bit, 1/4 inch end mill, 1/8 inch end mill, and a 60-degree V-bit. And overall time on that one without the texture is going to add a lot of time. Without the texture, we're looking at about 3 hours and 26 minutes. Okay, 3 hours and 26 minutes for that sign. Throw the texture in there, it's going to quadruple to 11 hours. The texture alone, running that texture alone was about an 8-hour run. Now that texture, just so you know, was created with a 16th inch radius, 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. Ball nose stepping over 8%, you know, running 55 and 15. But doing that cut and that little texture, let's preview it without the texture for a minute, and then preview it with the texture. That texture is doing this nice little texture pattern in there, little tight little strokes. That's going to be an 8-hour run. You may say, oh, that's not worth it. You might want to use a bigger bit, what have you. I want just a very fine little roughage in the background and everything, just to give it a little bit of a texture and all. You know, I do that. Now, if I were going to paint this, so if I were going to paint this, then I would not add the texture to it. I think the texture, if I was using a nice cool wood or something and there was not going to be any painting to it, maybe the letters, maybe the top surface or something of the material and all, maybe I would paint that. But if I was going to paint the background to get everything to stand out, so let's reset that preview and preview that toolpath one more time without the texture. We'll add some paint to it. All right, guys. Well, this is going to wrap up tonight's class and everything for this. Vectorstock.com. They are called, those little elements that we were using, those little flourishes, they are called calligraphy flourishes. And they have all those are kind of the most common patterns on the calligraphy flourishes, but there's others under the category of calligraphy flourishes and things like that. And that one little collection, you could do all kinds of, I mean, I could build all kinds of neat little things with it. This was just kind of quick and dirty. But all in all, it, you know, gave a nice, you know, a nice look to it. And so if I were, you know, I wouldn't paint it that color. If I were going to give this background a little bit of color of some sort, whatever it may be, let's go with kind of a hunter red there or something, or auburn or whatever. Red, maroon, what have you. You know, then I wouldn't add a texture to the background. You know, I would just have that, you know, raised effect. If I were doing something like this, it probably wouldn't be in maple. I'd probably do this in a walnut with a light background. Oops, not that light. Let's see here. No. None of the above. Yeah, walnut probably wouldn't be a good choice for that. Let's see here. Let's go back to here and let's look at cherry. Cherry's decent. Let's look at, I'm not a big fan of oak. I don't carve in oak, so, but let's look at oak anyway. Let's go with oak. You know, but nice, you know, elegant, right? 3.5 hours, 3 hours, 30 minutes to carve that, or 2 hours and 25 minutes to do the little cutout with the 16th inch end mill. Either way, either one looks kind of, you know, looks well and stuff. And, hey, you did it on your own, right? So, yeah. So, you're welcome, Harvey. WDS. But yeah, so hopefully you got something out of this. If anything, hopefully you got something. Just think about your approach when somebody sends you something. If it looks like, even if it's a logo, like a company logo or whatever, and it looks like, woo, overwhelming and everything, literally kind of have it on your screen, blow it up to where that image is on your screen, sit back for a minute, close your eyes, clear your mind, and then open your eyes and see if anything jumps out at you. Is there any particular pattern, any particular shape, anything that you know, that you can say, okay, how can I break this down to create this in a much easier fashion? Definitely check out the video on the Maltese cross, how to draw a Maltese cross. We take that from start to scratch just using 3 squares and some guidelines, right? Check that out if you ever get a chance. All right, guys and girls. What was the size, overall finished size of this? This project ended up being a 24 by 24. 24 by 24. By 3/4 on the wall hanger, by 1/4 inch thick on the little cutout. You know, on the big one with the frame around it, that's I'd cut that out of 3/4 inch material. The wall hanger, 1/4 inch material, but it ended up being 24 by 24. But the great thing about it is, let's close this, is all in all, it is scalable, right? I can make a little small thing or a little big thing or what have you. It is scalable. It's got a square aspect ratio to it in a sense because of the frame border around it. You know, you can size it up or down to whatever size you want. Just keep in mind this, you know, when you go smaller and all, you're definitely going to need something like a 1/16 inch end mill to cut in there, because an 1/8 inch isn't going to fit into all those little nooks and crannies and stuff. And if you know that you don't have a 1/16 or whatever and you got to do something, then draw your, you know, account for it, right? In your drawing. But it can be resized to different things. It's a scalable vector. It can be bigger, smaller, all that wonderful jazz. And hopefully that's that, right? Hopefully you got something out of there. Okay. All right. All right, guys and girls, thank you for joining me. Hopefully this kind of gives you something to consider, like if you're ever trying to oh, how do I draw these little flourishes and stuff? Of course, you can go trace images all day long and stuff. You know, try getting yourself some of those flourish vectors, those calligraphy vectors, and creating your own little patterns and things like that. It's fun sometimes to just sit back and be a little creative, but sometimes you might not have that time. You got to get something done because, you know, time is money, that kind of thing. Who knows what the situation is, but try to create something cool and fun and look at the different ways you can do it. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bob, that's something I don't know. I only know what I'm teaching a class on about a couple hours before class. So I don't think that far ahead. I need to, when I start this new, what I announced with you guys and girls last week about the new layout and everything, I will be planning ahead, and I will have a calendar of events and everything. It'll be much more organized. But right now, as it stands, these designs, these discussions and everything, they are prepared a couple of hours before the class. So I don't know. I won't know until next Tuesday what's on the queue for next week. Blue Knight, the other channel, is coming along. I already have the other channel. It's already got over 200 videos on it, 104,000 subscribers. So it's not like a brand new channel. It's a channel where I teach woodworking. So it's handling and coming along just fine. As far as me coming back to it and making new videos and everything, it's going well. Right now, my struggle is I'm in the process of getting a bigger building. I'm in a 12 by 24 little shop and everything is cramped. So for my lighting and cameras and all that stuff to be out in the shop building, there's not enough room, and it's very awkward to move cameras around and all that stuff. That's why I don't do a whole lot in the shop. So I'm working on a new building, 30 foot by 35 foot. I had a contractor who was out of his mind and quoted me $85,000 for that. And so I decided, okay, I'm not going to go that way of a contractor. I'm going to go with a steel building. Found a steel building that's about $32,000, $25,000 to $32,000, and metal building. That's with the concrete and everything. So I'm working on that. Now I've only budgeted myself for about $17,000. So when I got the quote for the $25,000 to $32,000, I've got to go back and get that financing from somewhere. So you know, I've got to go back to the bank or loan or what have you. So I'm working on that balance because I was expecting to just be able to drop 17 on a decent building and have it. But so right now it's all kind of financial, waiting for that next building, and then I can move my shop into that bigger building because it only takes them a little while to get it up and get it built if I find one. And it comes down to that. So I'm, you know, I only make a certain amount of money. So I've got to, you know, figure out my budget and stuff and everything, because that first sticker shock, 85,000, that first invoice quote, that was sticker shock. My house don't even cost that much. But so anyway, so we're working on it. It's coming along. I'm going to try to get everything done. It's just a matter of coming up with money. Until next time, guys, I'll see you soon.